Well, hello, welcome to the new video. And this time what we have here is the new Renault Rafale. It's the successor to all of those Renaults, like there was the Saffron, Laguna, and Talisman, and Latitude. So the top of the range Renault, really, the most luxurious one. And now it's in form of an SUV coupe. So it's a very interesting car. Let's have a closer look at it. This is the 200 horsepower E-Tech model, so not the absolute top of the range of 300 horsepower plug-in hybrid. That is coming slightly later on. So let's have a look at this 200 horsepower one. So this is the design, of course, as you see. You have these new signature of these daytime running lights and these minimalistic LED matrix vision lights of the Renault. They are really good at the night, really working well. Nobody is blinking at you in the night, no trucks that you are shining light into their eyes, so that's pretty cool. You have this honeycomb design on the front, which is very interesting. uh, there is no opening in it, so it's just a design. The only opening for cooling you have down here with active flaps, which is of course an important aerodynamic element. You also have a very big air curtain here. Now, I didn't find the drag coefficient of the car, but it seems to be a reasonably aerodynamically efficient car. Maybe I would suppose somewhere around 0.27, 0.28. Now, in terms of wheels, we have here 20-inch wheels, and with the tires for Renault, quite unusual, quite wide tire of 245. I think it's 45, 245, 45 R20. These, of course, on winter tires already, and we have aerodynamic wheels. They look really nice as well. And if I look at the suspension, there is only a very minimal positive front caster on the front suspension. Now you have Beijing Esprit Alpine here on the side. We have a 2.74 meter wheelbase, so it's based on a platform like the Renault Austral, so that is all right. And of course, what we have also is the 4Control advanced system, which helps you both with agility in the city and handling when driving fast. And so these rear wheels allow you to have a turning circle of 10.4 meter in the city, which is less than the Renault Clio. That's really cool. It also seems that there is very slightly wider track at the rear than at the front, but I'm not completely sure about that. Didn't find any information about that. But if we look at the geometry, which is always important, we are running more negative camber at the front and a toe out with the rear wheels. So this is quite a good setup, considering the conception of the car and the way distribution, because the battery is located in the middle of the wheelbase below the seats. And now coming to the rear, we have this spoiler. There is an opening here. The air comes through that. This is an SUV coupe, so we have this nice design. And you open the boot slightly strangely. So it's here in the rear bumper, but slightly on the right side. Now, we open the boot with a capacity of 647 liters, and this is a really nice and practical and boot with a wide opening. It's actually really usable for an SUV coupe. You also have a spare tire and massive storage area underneath. So yeah, really nice boot. And let's also have a look how it is sitting at the rear, because this car, the Renault Rafale, is also a presidential car, the current car of the French president, Emmanuel Macron. So let's have a look in the rear how it is in terms of seating. And this is very good in terms of space. Look at the amount of space I have for my knees. That is really good. You have big door bins, so that's cool. And in terms of comfort, you have two USB-C connectors, air conditioning in the rear, this big armrest with cup holders that you can also rotate like this, which is kind of cool. A lot of storage area here, and also two USB-C connectors in this armrest. So very interesting element, this huge armrest that you get here. And also you have the most specific element of the equipment, which is the solar bay roof of the Renault, panoramic sunroof, which is of the similar design to what Porsche has or what you have in Mercedes. And so that is the first non-premium car that runs this type of panorama sunroof, which is extremely cool. And lastly, let's have a look at the engine. And here is the interior. It's a typical interior. You might know it all already from the Renault Espace, but more of that, of course, when we take the car for a drive. Let's now have a look at the engine. All right, let's open it up. So we have hydraulic lifters for the bonnet, which is cool, great. Big acoustic sound isolation here, and this engine here is a 1.2 liter 3-cylinder turbo. Is the powertrain from the Renault Espace. It's a hybrid, E-Tech hybrid with 200 horsepower, 205 newton meters of torque for the electric engine. We have two electric engines. One is 68 horsepower, the other, which is part of the multi-mode transmission, is 34 horsepower. So in total 200 horsepower. And it charges the 2 kilowatt hour battery that is, as I've said, in the middle of the wheelbase under the seats. And this is quite a big battery. So this hybrid system really has quite a big range of how it can work. But anyway, more of that in the driving part. So let's close the bonnet. Let's take the car further down the road and let's talk about the experience with the Renault Rafale. Oh, well, hello and welcome inside the new Renault Rafale. And this is a really nice car. You know, it feels like a premium car that's not costing you premium money. It started at 43,900 euros in my country. This car is tested just over 51,000 euros, and it's just so technologically advanced, this car. So probably the most special thing, as I've said in the Walkaround, is this solar bay roof. I'll try to show you. Now it's closed, and now I open it to the first half, and these singular elements, they open up, and it's just yeah, it's just something different, isn't it? It's really different. Now here I have the equipment, and from the equipment, well, there are not optional extras listed as such here, but we have Harman Kardon stereo here. We have 4Control advanced system, of course, the multimedia system with the Google connectivity, which is great, and yeah, we have these seats. Yeah, we have these Alcantara leather seats with the logos that has ambient lighting. This logo inserted into the seats, which is extremely cool. And these seats, they are also the driver's seat is also massage seat, so that's pretty cool. I think that would be about it to the extras. And then to the interior, we have this new hexagonal steering wheel of the Renault, which is usual, with the new logo, still with the buttons, which is great. You have this multi-sense button, so you can switch in between modes very quickly, which I always love about the new Renaults. Very high quality displays. Also the reversing one is great quality, if not for the dirty camera. You have also 360-degree camera. You have this stalk for the gearbox now. Here on the left side, you turn off the assistance and open the boot, and you also get the electronic handbrake there. It's just a really nice interior to be in. And also in terms of practicality, so you have these two cup holders here, two USB-C connectors, and then you move this wireless pad for wireless charging, which is like from an airplane, and you open up the big space in here. The only critique to that is that it doesn't have any rubber element, so if you put things inside, it flies around and rattles a little bit. And then also a big armrest with deep opening, and yeah, that's about it. The sitting position is also very nice. You're sitting reasonably low for an SUV, reasonably far from the front wheels as well in terms of conception, which is what I like. And these Alcantara leather seats, they have not only they have fantastic design with French flag, with French colors, but they have good support for your back. They are wide enough. They are just nice seats. Yeah, so anyway, I think it's time to set off and drive and talk a little bit more about the drivability of the car. And so the first advantage of the hybrid powertrain is that how smooth it is, because you are driven by electric motors like this in the comfort mode. Let's put it into comfort mode, and the comfort mode is in which this car is at its most efficient, with a weight of over 1730 kilos, I think it was. Let's check it. Yeah, 1735 kilos in this equipment level. It is still reasonably light, I have to say, for how big the car is. And so it is extremely smooth. Then sometimes you hear this 3-cylinder engine turns on and gives you charge to the 2 kWh battery, and it charges really reasonably quickly. And then also, if you want to charge it yourself, you have these paddles on the steering wheel to manage region, which you have 3 modes to do it with. So yeah, usability as a hybrid, really nice. Now we're coming to the roundabout, and we have 4 control, and that means that we have 10.4 meter turning circle, and this car is just as great in the city as the small Renault Clio. It's just so maneuverable. You can turn around in such small areas. It is just fantastic. I really do like that. And that is while the car is having 2.74 meter wheelbase, so absolutely incredible. And also this 4 control, 4-wheel steering. You know, in the non-premium segment, like the Renault is, it is a specialty, and it not only improves this agility in the city, but it improves handling massively, because this car, well, let me tell you, this car can handle corners really well. And I'm also very much surprised by the setup of the suspension Renault gave this Rafale, because you might think that this is a comfy car for long distances, but it's not that. You have really high body rigidity, and also the stiffness of the damping and the springs. It feels really rather sporty. They really wanted to set this car up for being sporty, being a driver's car, and that's actually really what it is. And then in the corners, it has really nice balance, really sharp front end, really big amount of grip thanks to this 4-wheel steering, really big amount of grip, and it's also very nice and readable and communicative with you. Thanks to the suspension setup, it gives you really nice amount of information about the road surface, also through the steering, which is what I like. And therefore, when you're cornering hard and at the higher speeds, you read the car and it gives you information by scrubbing on the surface when it starts to lose the front end. So you know immediately that you get a little bit of understeer, and you can cope with that. So it's a really nice car to drive. It's really readable, it's really communicative with you, and yeah, I found myself having really good feel as a driver in the car, good control over the car, even on slippery roads. The car was really readable, was really with me through the steering wheel, which I really did like. Also the steering ratio, thanks to the 4-wheel steer, you do not have to turn massively into the corners. There are just very small angles of steering. So yeah, really good. And also you have more grip thanks to the unusually wider tires for a Renault, for a non-premium car of 245. So I was extremely happy. But now maybe let's turn off from the driver's engagement, which this car is really nice and engaging, and let's talk more about the fuel efficiency. So we have a usual 55-liter fuel tank in this car, and the average over the whole week, what I'm looking at, is 6.7 liters per 100 kilometers. Now this car stays much lower, and of course in the city you can drive for 4.7, 4.6, even 4.5 liters. But this is what I got over the whole week. It's now winter. The roads are wet almost all the time, and also you have a windy weather. So I think 6.7 for a car of this size, still fantastic, and with such a wide tires and wide winter tires, which have a higher rolling resistance. So I think the consumption is really nice, and you can do separate journeys for 6.5 liters, 6.2, 5.8, and I'm talking about longer journeys, longer travels, not only city. So I think the efficiency element in this car is still really good for what it is. So yeah, and then in terms of comfort, well, because of the stiffness, it is not the most comfortable car to drive. It really lets you know about the information of the surface a lot, about the undulations on the road. It really moves about with you. It's really that stiff. Then in terms of acoustic isolation, I measured 62-63 decibels at 130 kilometers on the motorway, which is alright, but subjectively could be slightly better from the A-pillars, slightly better isolated from the A-pillars. And then maybe the only thing which was unusual for me in terms of quietness is that the ventilator for the air conditioning, where for the ventilation on its first setting, on the lowest setting, I can hear it working. And this is unusual for me because in other Renault cars I don't have this experience. For example, with the new Renault Captur I don't have this experience, but here in the most luxury car I hear it slightly more. So I was a little bit surprised about that. Yeah. And then the great thing, you have these comfy seats with lumbar support, lumbar massage function, which is great. So in terms of comfort, you really do get yourself a lot of pleasure with this car. I think that would be about it. Let's go to the likes and dislikes of the car. Let's start up with the dislikes. So the first dislike would be this ventilator that I can hear more in the other less premium Renault models. That would be the one dislike. And other than that, it's really tough. I mean, somebody could critique the design, that it looks like some of its competitors, but I don't really mind it. People can say what they want. It's a really good looking car, particularly from the rear. And Renault, they know their design work. They really do fantastic design. Both the light design, the shape of the car is just great looking car. Then other dislike would be the reactiveness of the hybrid powertrain, which is a known thing that when you want to accelerate aggressively, there is a little bit of a delay, which we can say it's very close to what it was like in the older turbo cars. So there is slight delay, but when you just overtake very linearly, not aggressively, it's nice and linear, and you don't get any delay in the acceleration that way. So it's really depending on how you drive, what sort of a character of a driver you are. If you're an aggressive driver, you're gonna feel this delay. And then let's go to the likes, when there are plenty of likes. So the first like, I think the most important is, now that I'm thinking about, is the price. Starting at only 43,900 euros, with this amount of equipment, this amount of technology that you get a 4-wheel steering, you get solar-based sunroof like from the Porsche or Mercedes-Benz, you get a really nice interior, very well built interior, the interior in which you feel really luxurious and comfortably. You get Google services like in the premium cars, you get massage seats. Everything just feels really nice about this interior, and to get all this starting from 43,000 euros, I think it's really good, and I really do like that. Another thing would be the driving dynamics of the car. So I was expecting this to be a slightly heavy, bulbous car that maybe it will be comfortable but not fun to drive, but absolute opposite happened. This car is just so nice to drive. It was just really nice to drive. It feels light in your hands. It has sharp front end. It likes to turn in. It has really big amount of grip on the overall, thanks to the 4-wheel steering and also thanks to the wider tires. It's just a surprising car, and also the stiffness and the rigidity of the car is what I was very surprised about. And it certainly feels like a driver's car, and it's a really nice car to drive. Also, pairing it with good practicality, large amount of space in the rear, good comfort for the rear passengers, big enough boot of 647 liters standard. Wow, really nice. So yeah, I think these would be the likes. And the final thought about the car, well, it's just that, you know, you might critique that it's a hybrid, it's a 3-cylinder hybrid underneath, but really what we have to think about nowadays with these hybrids is that we have to simply forget about the size of the engine, because this car has 200 horsepower. It feels like that, particularly in the sports mode. If you accelerate, it has enough ground for everything. And is it a Renault flagship? Well, I think, yeah, we can call it, because it's really nice in multiple areas and certainly feels like one in terms of design, in terms of how it drives, in terms of how it's built. it's just yeah, I mean, it really feels like a flagship product from Renault, and I can imagine the top of the range of 300 horsepower one will be something like the Safran Biturbo was. So it's gonna be really good, really quick, but not many people probably will get it. Let's see about that. But as it is for the Rafale, really impressive car, and yeah, I'm really impressed by how good it is and how surprisingly well it drives. So yeah, I think that would be about it to the review, to my look at the Renault Rafale. Well, if you liked the video, found it useful, well, keep watching, keep subscribing. More videos are coming on, of course, very soon, and I hope to see you in the very next video. In the meantime, take care of you and goodbye.